world is in a weird place. Discourse seems to be ever so divisive, more especially along hard ideological lines, and interlocutors that often can't find each other often result to other forms of violence and or in many instances, when we talk about nation states, wars. We often look to our young people to find solutions to some of the problems that we face, and their ability to think critically about the issues facing us and to devise solutions and also communicate those solutions in a way that becomes adaptable and usable is critically important. But how do we get this? Sibusiso Gaca, who's the founder of Ibegile Consulting, joins us now to make sense of this. Sibusiso, you engage young people all the time. Do they have the answers?
Hi, Oliver. Well, I mean, it's difficult making a certain analysis or evaluation as to whether or not young people have the answers. But what I can certainly say is that the discourse that occurs, I think, with the older generation often becomes quite stagnant in that they're very set in their ways, they're very set in their ideas, based on a number of variables. I think what young people are able to do better than the older generation is have a better ability to have the discourse in a way where they don't feel fundamentally conflicted, or particularly in a way that they are flexible in engaging in different ideas. So the answer certainly is most likely going to be found from the young people.
How do we equip young people then to be able to at least transpose into an understandable working solution the ideas that they have to some of the most pressing and contemporary problems facing the world?
Particularly on my personal analysis, I think the space of debate and public speaking is a space that I think allows young people to be equipped in such skills. Critical thinking in the classroom often lies only to the particular subject that is at hand. Whereas I find the space of debate far more adaptable to having different types of discussions on different types of topics that allow young people to therefore be engaged. So I think by allowing more young people, at least by definitely introducing the space of debate in the curriculum of our education space, is a definite way where we can ensure that we empower young people to have this discourse in a productive sense.
How do we make this a culture as part of our national discourse and dialogue and conversation, not just in classrooms or in the corridors of corporate boardrooms, but also in our communities and our households? I think it's often the culture of discourse and disagreement and embracing dissent in meaningful ways that hold us back. How do we change the culture?
100%. I think it's important that we first meet young people where they are. Oftentimes, I think what is referred to or understood to be debating and public speaking is considered to be some sort of elitist space where people who are, geniuses or hyper-intellect engage each other. So oftentimes the layman or the student who doesn't necessarily consider themselves to be that feels that the space doesn't cater to them. So we meet young people where they are. We open workshops in the communities that exist in. We also offer topics or center topics that are directly related to the space and society in which they live in. And moreover, we listen. We take heed to the abilities or the different abilities of people to communicate and engage at that specific level, and not expect young people to, have verbose engagement or hypotheses on various topics, because oftentimes that disempowers or discourages a number of people. And I never believe that any opinion is essentially a bad one.
But oftentimes getting a culture going means that support needs to come from somewhere. Oftentimes it's top-down support that we rely on. It's organizations and corporates and sometimes even the government putting forward resources and dedicating some level of effort towards making that happen. Do we have working models of where such cooperations between society, the public sector, the private sector, seem to work well to be able to get communities to engage, particularly communities where young people are the center of the ideation of those communities. And are they successful?
From my experience, what I've found to be the spaces where debating is best inculcated is in a private space, private institutions. So you find spaces like Gauteng Debating Leagues, or in the Eastern Cape, what is referred to as SABC, which are essentially independent bodies that seek to facilitate debate and public speaking within schools. I think the divide or the problem becomes where these spaces act independently from spaces of public sector, right? So the ability for greater investment or scalable investment becomes limited because it is essentially a space that exists purely in a private space, and like I said, in sometimes quite the elitist spaces of our society. So it's quite stagnant, and it's quite unfortunate that we don't find more government intervention and government assistance when it comes to reaching out to the greater populace.
Yeah, Sibusiso Gaca, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Sibusiso Gaca is the founder of Ibegile Consulting.